Welcome, everybody, to the Fantasy Football War Room Podcast. I'm your host, James, and with me I have Nick. Nope. Frank? Nope. Sam? Oh, wait, he retired. Chris?
Pronto.
There we go. Finally.
Let's go. Someone's in the house with you, James. I won't leave you hanging.
We got a two-man show going on today, just you and me. A lot of room you can stretch out, nobody around. This will be good.
We'll be able to get our words in. Let's go.
That's good. How you been, man?
Pretty good. I'm draft prepping for all these rookie drafts coming up, Devy drafts and all that stuff. So it's getting close. It's right around the corner. Keeping busy with life in general and football and all that stuff. Good weather's coming in, so enjoying that as well. Trying to get outside as much as I can. How about you? What are you up to this weekend?
Oh man, the weekends are short with the two little rugrats I got in the house. It's just they go by so quick. You try to get outside, do some stuff, and can't do anything, finish anything. No. You start it and move on. So
feel you there, buddy.
But yeah, that's good. Well, we got a fun show for you guys today. We are going to be starting you off with some draft preparation since the draft is just around the corner, and we thought we'd go through. We're going to break down the teams this week, and we're going to go through each team, what their draft stock is, what their team needs are, and some potential picks that they could have. So Chris and I are going to be giving you all the teams for the next two episodes, and should be able to get through everything. So with that, let's just get started, Chris. We'll start off with the first pick going to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Last year they finished 1-15. What a great record that was, and that earned them the inaugural first pick. So they've got round one, they have the first overall pick and the 25th pick, which was from the Rams. In round two, they have the 33 and 45. In round three, they have one pick. In round four, they have two picks. In round five, they have two picks. And in round seven, they have a pick. So they got a good stock of picks this year. A little bit of notes on the Jacksonville Jags. So they have had a top 10 pick 19 times out of the 27 seasons that they've been in the league. And that's still haven't been able to put anything together. But they've never had the first overall pick. So this is the first time that's happening. And it should be good. And the Jags have taken three quarterbacks in the first round. They took Byron Leftwich, number 7 in 2003, Blaine Gabbert, number 10 in 2011, and Blake Bortles, number 3 in 2014.
The boat.
Awesome picks there.
Yeah. Hey, Leftwich is at least. Leftwich and Gabbert just won the Super Bowl.
That's true. Yeah, one a backup and one a coach. That's good. Their last 5 first round draft picks. So in 2015, they drafted Dante Fowler Jr. I don't think he's there anymore. In 2016, they drafted Jalen Ramsey. Also not there anymore.
Also with the Rams.
2017, they drafted Leonard Fournette. Also not there anymore.
Super Bowl champion, Leonard Fournette.
2018, they drafted Taven Bryan, a defensive tackle out of Florida. I don't know if he's still there or not. And 2019, with the 7th overall pick, they drafted Josh Allen out of Kentucky, defensive end. So he's still there. But I'm going to throw it over to you, buddy. Why don't you tell us about their team needs and potential picks? I mean, we know what the first one is, but maybe that 25 you can give us some light on.
Yeah, I mean, the draft really starts at 103 this year, 104. At the 101, it's a given that they're probably taking Trevor Lawrence. Do you think he's going to be a top 10 finishing QB this year?
Oh, man, that's a good question.
Where do you got?
No, I don't think he'll finish top 10. I think he'll be in that 12, maybe 13 to 20 range. He's got weapons. I get that. They're probably going to be losing a lot of their games, so he'll be able to throw the ball and get you some points. I think the highest I could see him at is maybe 12, but it's a new team, a new offense, new players. He's got to get used to it. There's also, injury factors could be a play. Look what happened to Joe Burrow. He didn't come out very good to start with, and he had a lot of weapons. So, I'm hoping somewhere 12 to 15 range is what I think would be pretty good. Maybe a QB2 for this season.
Okay, now you're in a dynasty startup. You have the choice of either Lawrence or Burrow. Which one are you taking?
Wow. Um, that's a
It's a
tough
tricky one, man. It's a tricky one.
I think I would take. I think I take Burrow, and
Burrow?
because I like the options in Cincy with T. Higgins, Boyd, anything else they can add there. I'm assuming they may add another piece to that this year too. So I think I'd like that better. And I saw what Burrow did. He looks good. I haven't seen what Lawrence can do yet. So a year of one guy in the league and being able to play there and seeing what he can do versus one guy who hasn't, I think I would take that. It's only a year. So in a dynasty, it's still not that crazy between the two. But I could be wrong in 5 years from now.
Yeah. Okay. Lawrence or Herbert?
Ooh, I like Herbert was good too. I think it's the same thing. I think I still take Herbert.
Yeah.
I take the steady guy who's done it for a year
Okay.
over the guy that hasn't yet.
So I'm just trying to see where you got him ranked. So I got two more for you: Lawrence or Daniel Jones.
Oh, Lawrence. I hate Daniel
Lawrence.
Jones. He's awful.
You don't like the Ferrari, Daniel Jones?
Yeah, the Corolla.
Okay, one more: Lawrence or Tua Tagovailoa.
See, Tua is misunderstood. He had an off year. I think he could be better than he was, especially if they get him some options and someone to play with.
Yeah.
But I kind of like the upside of Lawrence there. I think I would take Lawrence over Tua just because Tua didn't show me enough. But if could Tua be better than he was? I think so. But I think I'd rather the potential with Lawrence than what I saw out of Tua after his first year.
Yep, I like it. I like them all. I agree with you pretty much on all of them. But then at the 125, they have the possibility of grabbing an edge rush, which they have to address in Jason Owa or Gregory Rousseau out of Miami. Urban Meyer knows that a strong defensive line is going to be the key to building a championship team. If a player like a Rondale Moore or Jalen Waddle were to fall to Jacksonville at that 125, they could make it a priority to get Lawrence another playmaker. They did lose Keelan Cole to, I think he went to the Jets. Right now they have Shark, I think, and they got Marvin Jones, of course, free agent signing. But the wide receiver pool is deep. I think they can get one of those top-ranked wide receivers in the second or maybe even later in the draft. So they could either at 125 grab an edge rush or possibly an O-lineman who might be there, someone like Alexander Leatherwood or there was that other guy. I'm drawing a blank on his name.
Being a guy, I can't give you. That's not much of a description. There's a lot of those. So.
He's a football player. He's
fantastic!
Big.
This is good. You're getting me closer now.
I think Leatherwood's probably one of the better options for them to grab at the O-lineman position, and from there is where they're going to build out the rest of their team.
What about a running back? Do you see them possibly going that route if Harris or an Etienne are still around?
I don't see them doing it in the first round. I can see them drafting a running back for depth a little later. With James Robinson there, they do believe in him, and I think that if they do grab one, it's just for depth, and then they're gonna address the other holes in their roster first.
Okay, sounds good. Let's move on to team number 2, and that is the New York Jets, who finished 2-14 last year. And they've got 2 first-round picks as well, number 2 and number 23. They have 1 in the second round, 2 in the third, 1 in the fourth, 2 in the fifth, and 2 in the sixth. And the Jets have picked second twice in the NFL draft, selecting wide receiver Johnny Lamb Jones in 1980 and running back Blair Thomas in 1990. Their last 5 first-round picks in 2016 was Darren Lee, linebacker at Ohio State, Jamal Adams, safety, LSU, he's no longer there, Sam Darnold, QB, USC, who just got traded.
No longer there.
Quinnen Williams, defensive tackle, Alabama. I don't think he's there either.
Yeah, he's still there.
Is he still there or did he go to the Giants? I can't remember if he was one of the ones that
he's
was...
still
Oh,
there.
he's still there, okay.
No, Quinnen's still there, yeah.
And then last year's pick, and I might get this wrong, but Mekhi Becton, offensive tackle, Louisville. He was a beast. I remember him. He was huge. So they got some pieces. But I will move it to you. What are their needs, and who do you think they're taking at 2 and 23?
Their needs are pretty much across the board. QB, corner, tackle, safety, wide receiver, running back. At the 102, it seems like it's going to be Zach Wilson. But personally, in my opinion, for what it is, it should be Justin Fields. He's had a bigger body of work, of success over a one-year guy who people are hyping to be the next Patrick Mahomes. So by the looks of it, it's Wilson, but it should be Fields. Most likely it's Wilson. So the 102 is pretty much decided. At the 123, I think the Jets are going to focus primarily on offense unless for some reason one of the top pass rushers fall to them. They also have been linked to offensive tackle Tevin Jenkins from Oklahoma, and Elijah Vera-Tucker. That was the name I was trying to think of.
There
Elijah
you go.
Vera-Tucker. I got it. If one of those guys happened to fall to them that far, but again, same with Jacksonville, they should be deciding to put another weapon around their young quarterback. If one of the top RBs were to fall to them, I would love to see Travis Etienne in a Michael LaFleur system, which favors running back that bounces outside and runs in the zone running scheme. They should be able to address the wide receiver position a bit later in the draft because it is rich. So they could go either way with that 123 pick. I hope it's offense. I hope it's weapons for Wilson moving forward.
Sounds good. Yeah, I like a running back there in the second one. I know they probably should address maybe offensive line a little bit and all those other positions there, but they need everything. So at this point, get best available, I guess, and then continue.
Yeah, pretty much, man.
So, all right, let's move on to number 3. So the San Francisco 49ers are now number 3. They traded up with Miami to get there. That was a big trade. So San Fran now has the number 3 overall. They have a second round, a third, a fourth, 3 fifths, a sixth, and a seventh. And so when they selected wide receiver Brandon Ayuk with the second of their 2 first-round picks last year, it was the first time that they had selected a skilled position player in the first round since 2012.
Really?
In that same span, they've selected 4 defensive ends. And so going through their last 5 years of drafting, so in 2016, they drafted DeForest Buckner, defensive end out of Oregon, Joshua Garnett, a guard. In 2017, they drafted Solomon Thomas and Reuben Foster. In 2018, they drafted Mike McGillicuddy, offensive tackle at Notre Dame. That's it. Thank you. In 2019, they drafted Nick Bosa, number 2 overall, out of Ohio State. And in 2020, they drafted Javon Kinlaw, defensive tackle to South Carolina, and then Brandon Ayuk, wide receiver. So
stud.
Yeah, and that's why their defense is so good. You can tell it's one of the top end defensive. Yep. But what do they need, Chris? And what potential are they going? I mean, we probably know where they're going, but what do they need?
Yeah, to me, some of their biggest needs are quarterback, running back. Najee Harris thought actually that he was going to be picked by the 49ers before they moved up to 103. I don't know about you, James, but to me, the Mac Jones visit just screamed a smokescreen. I mean, Coach Saban said to the media that neither Coach Shanahan or John Lynch talked to him during the pro day. Maybe they hoped Saleh would get a little nervous and try to stake his former cohorts and take Jones. Then the 49ers would get Wilson or Justin Fields at 103. This pick, again, should probably be Fields if he drops, but my gut is telling me that they're picking Trey Lance. There has been rumors of the coach and the general manager kind of not agreeing on who the pick should be. I think the fact that they can pick a guy and have him sit for a season behind Jimmy G is something that they're excited about as a franchise. This is a pick that I'm excited about because of all the intrigue surrounding the team with Jimmy Garoppolo and the whole situation surrounding the quarterback position. I don't know what quarterback you think they're going to take, James, but to me, my gut is it's telling me Trey Lance, man.
So I can see that, but in the scenario that Justin Fields drops to them at 3, you got Trey Lance over Justin Fields still?
No, I got Fields over Wilson. I got Fields
Right.
as the
Let's say the
QB,
Jets
right?
take Wilson, like everyone's been saying they're going to take, and they're going to go
Yeah.
Wilson. So you got Fields, or you got Trey Lance, or you got Mac Jones. Where are you going?
I think no brainers Fields, man.
That's what I would say. You had Fields going at 2, so I would go Fields too. I think it's a smokescreen as well. But I mean, Mac Jones was good. He was very good in college. He put up some numbers that a lot of people liked.
He was
and
lights out, man.
The problem is Mac Jones is your typical, I don't want to say old school quarterback, but he's not that new school kind of rushing quarterback that can do things. And I think that's
He's a
the
pocket
only
passer.
Yeah, that's the knock against him. And but is that what Shanahan wants? Because apparently that is what Shanahan wants. That's what he was trying to get with Jimmy Garoppolo, and he didn't get that. That's what he was trying to get before. So they're saying that he could be the favorite only because he fits the scheme that Shanahan wants to go with.
Yeah.
So as much as I see a smokescreen, if I'm going best available, it should be Fields. If Fields is taken number 2 by the Jets, then, I mean, I'd go Wilson, possibly Trey Lance, depending. But I got Mac Jones at 5 out of all these quarterbacks. So unless these guys know something that we don't obviously know, that they're seeing with these pro scouting and whatnot, or their scouts, that's how I have it. But there's a lot of hype around Mac Jones going number 3 to San Fran for some reason. So
yeah, I mean, like Zach Wilson, Mac Jones, Trey Lance, they all have a small sample size of a playing career in college football, man.
Yep.
So it could just be one of those. Maybe it's the Joe Burrow effect. One solid year, and he's the next big thing, right? So, I mean, I think like you, Fields should be the pick, but all signs are either pointing to Mac Jones or Trey Lance.
Well, we at least know it's a quarterback, so that was easy.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think they're trading up to pick another edge.
Hey, that'd be interesting, though. Let's move on. So this is now where the draft is going to start to get fun, because the Atlanta Falcons are sitting at number 4. They finished 4-12 last year, so they're not doing very well. They're keeping Matt Ryan. They've got their solid wide receiver core. So they have one pick in the first, which is the 4th, 1 pick in the 2nd, 1 in the 3rd, 1 in the 4th, 3 in the 5th, and 2 in the 6th. And so this is the Falcons' first top 10 pick since 2015, and their first top 5 pick since drafting quarterback Matt Ryan at number 3 in 2008. Atlanta has drafted 2 Hall of Famers with top 5 picks in Claude Humphrey, number 3, 1968, and Deion Sanders, number 5 in 1989.
Great pick.
Their last 5 first-round picks, so in 2017, they had, I'm going to get this wrong, Takarist McKinley, defensive end.
McKinley. Yeah, you're close.
2018, Calvin Ridley. 2019, Chris Lindstrom, offensive guard from Boston College. 2019 as well was Caleb McGarry, offensive tackle from Washington. And 2020 was A.J. Terrell, cornerback out of Clemson. So, with them being so bad, obviously they need a whole bunch. But, Chris, what do they need, and what do you think they're going to do with that number 4 pick?
They've got some holes to fill. They've lost some key defensive guys in free agency. They're going to need another corner. They're going to need an edge. They need a tight end. They need a playmaking tight end. As much as you're a Hurst guy, James, I don't think he fits the bill. They need a QB to come in and maybe mold to go behind Matt Ryan, a QB of the future. This is probably going to be the pick that gets traded. If the Patriots continue to stay aggressive like they have been through free agency, I could see them trading up and grabbing one of the QBs that fall. Like if a Justin Fields falls to the 104 pick and the Patriots continue their pace, they could definitely be one of the teams that trade up to grab one of these guys. I could also see Atlanta again taking one of the QBs if one of the good ones falls. One of the probably more intriguing picks is Kyle Pitts. Pair him up with Julio and Ridley on the outside and Pitts down the middle. It just screams good time offense to me. The safe pick is probably Sewell, the lineman. And again, they had one of the worst defenses last season. They will be the beneficiary of one of the QB needy teams, one of the teams that need to trade up. And And also, they'll be able to pick probably the belle of the defender ball, and that will be linebacker Micah Parsons or an edge rusher in Kwity Paye, which will suck as a Saints fan moving forward.
Yeah, I got them trading this pick. I don't think they know what they want to do with it. I think they're going to trade down, try to accumulate some more picks later on, maybe next year or later. And I think New England should be the team to go do it and go get somebody, because there's a few teams that need quarterbacks that are coming up at 8 and I think 6 or whatnot picks there. We'll see that, but there's some teams coming that want guys, and they're probably going to think, well, we don't need to make a trade because we're okay. We're going to get a guy here. So if New England could sneak in there and take a guy, especially if they want that, this is the time to do it. And they've been aggressive in free agency, so I could see that. The smart thing to do would be for them to take a quarterback. Let the quarterback gel behind Matt Ryan for a year and see what happens. Are they going to be smart? I don't know. They seem to think they could go another year without having to draft anybody. The crazy way to do it would be, like you just said, take Kyle Pitts, add him to your offense with Matt Ryan and all those other pieces and see what happens. The problem is that defense can't win them football games. The offense can't outscore everybody, and this is where you are. So, but I think personally, I think they're trading. I think they're going to trade down. Even if they go down to 15, they can still get a good player with New England, and then maybe get a few picks next year and move forward. So,
I agree with that.
All right, let's move on to the Cincinnati Bengals. They finished 4-11-1 last year. They were the number 1 guys last year, drafting Joe Burrow. This year they got the number 5 overall pick, a second-round pick, a third, a fourth, a fifth, a sixth, and 2 sevenths. So the Bengals are picking in the top 5 for the 17th time in franchise history and a second year in a row. They've used their past 4 first-round picks on offensive players, but only 2 of those were starters for Cincinnati in 2020, which are quarterback Joe Burrow and offensive tackle Jonah Williams. So those last 5 picks that we're talking about, so obviously Joe Burrow was 2020, Jonah Williams was 2019, he was 11th overall pick, offensive tackle. In 2018, it was center Billy Price out of Ohio State. In 2017, it was wide receiver John Ross, when he finished with the highest, best 40 time, I think it was, ever in the
4.22.
And in 2016, it was defensive back William Jackson III out of Houston. So what do they need, Chris? And what are some potential picks for these guys?
I mean, the answer is easy, right? We all saw what happened to Joe Burrow last season. It's linemen, and it's more linemen. Although Joe Burrow has been clamoring for the team to draft his former LSU teammate, Jamar Chase, the Bengals should just not do that. They shouldn't go that route. They shouldn't put the cart before the horse, and they should not protect their franchise QB. They have had success in the past in picking wide receivers in round 2 or later. They just drafted T. Higgins. Tyler Boyd was a second and later. Chad Johnson was drafted in the second. And he mentioned in our last episode, TJ Hushmanzada. I messed up the TJ part on that one. Jeez,
easy
James.
part, eh?
You're starting to rub off on me here. If it isn't an offensive target, it's Pitts down the middle. If not, you have to grab a protector. If Sewell is there, it's Sewell. If not, it's Rashawn Slater. That's the way the Bengals should go.
I agree with you. It all depends on what they're thinking, right? So we saw a meme that I think you shared before, where it's a picture of Joe Burrow throwing behind them picking Sewell or Slater, and he's standing upright and he's making a pass downfield to someone. And then there's another picture of Joe Burrow throwing to Jamar Chase, but no one's protecting him, and he's on the floor with another broken leg. So it's it's how you go. We'll see what happens. I think they got to go offensive lineman here. I think they need it. I think that's the smart move. But again, not everyone plays with the smart move, and you know, some teams just think of the offense. I mean, yes, Jamar Chase with Joe Burrow would be fantastic. Kyle Pitts with Joe Burrow would be fantastic.
Fantastic, yeah.
But they got wide receivers. They need someone to keep him upright. Ask the doctor that just did the surgery on his knee.
Exactly.
So, all right, let's move to the next team, the Miami Dolphins, who finished 4-11-1. So they traded down, then traded back up. So in this round, they've got 2 picks. They've got 6 and 18. In the second round, they also have 2 picks. In the third round, they have 1. In the fifth round, they have 1. And in the seventh round, they have 2. So the Dolphins, who had 3 first-round draft picks in 2020, had 2 first-round picks this year. All of their first-round picks since 2011 were in the league in 2020, but only one from before 2019 was still with Miami, which was Devontae Parker, drafted number 14 in 2015. So going back to their last 5 years of picks, in 2016 they drafted Laramie Tunsil out of Mississippi. 2017, Charles Harris, defensive end out of Missouri. 2018, Mika Fitzpatrick, safety out of Alabama. 2019, Christian Wilkins, defensive tackle out of Clemson. And last year they had 3 picks. They drafted Tua at 5. They drafted Austin Jackson, offensive tackle, at 18. And oh gosh, this is not going to work. Noah Igbinoghene. There's no way I got that right. But cornerback out of Auburn. So these names are fun today. All right, Chris, what are their needs? And what do you think they're going to take at 6 and 18?
I think the Dolphins team they need to address the edge. I think that's something that they can do later in the draft. I think they have to focus on giving Tua some weapons on the offense. 106, it's Jamar Chase. It's got to be Jamar Chase. He's the wide receiver 1. I don't know if any of you guys caught his pro day or any of you guys saw his measurables, but it's all up there with some of the greats that are in the game right now. Giving Tua a weapon is got to be a priority this offseason, and Jamar Chase is just that. At the 118, this pick is where the Dolphins will address their need for a center, possibly grabbing Oklahoma's Creed Humphrey or an edge rusher right here. But again, an edge rush is still something that I think they can address later on in the draft. With the loss of Kyle Van Noy, they could also grab a linebacker at the 118. But I think personally, this is where Najee Harris goes. The Dolphins have strong ties with Harris, and I like the fit. He will solidify their offense and should hold some significant value fantasy-wise for a few years moving forward. James, if I'm going to ask you another dynasty question here, who do you like more, Najee Harris or James Robinson?
Ooh. If he goes to Miami, that's tough, man, because you've got Tua, you got Lawrence. Both you don't know really what they can and can't do. The offensive line, like James Robinson balled out last year, and could he do that again? I mean, those running backs in Miami, even though they mixed and matched, they did okay too. So a full year of Harris could be good too. Unfortunately, I got to go with what I've been saying. You take the guy who's doing it right now, and James Robinson did it. He knows what he's doing. He's getting better quarterback, better outside help, so he should in fact be better. I'm going to take James Robinson.
And he's younger.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, he's younger too. So.
Yeah, I'd take that. That's a good question. I like that. So
yeah, I like the fit in Miami for Najee, but with you, I'd probably go with James Robinson as well. All
right. Let's move on to the Detroit Lions. This one's for you, Frank. I know you're not here, but they finished
with those ribs.
They weren't horrible as everybody else. They finished 5-11, so they did win some games, and I'm looking forward to them biting kneecaps this year. I really am. So their draft stock, they've got 1 first, 1 second, 2 thirds, a 4th, and a 5th. And the Lions are picking in the top 10 for the 3rd consecutive year and 26th time in the Super Bowl era. Yes, I mean,
that's more than 50%.
They're good. They're not good at picking, obviously, but they're good at picking in the top half of the draft. That's what they win every year. So I know Frank's gonna have to hit me on that one, but we'll go from there. So their last 5 first-round picks they had in 2016: Tyler Decker, offensive tackle; 2017, Jared Davis, linebacker; 2018, Frank Ragnow, center out of Arkansas; 2019, TJ Hawkinson, number 8 overall, tight end out of Iowa; and 2020, number 3 overall, Jeff Okudah, cornerback out of Ohio State. So, Chris, what do the Lions need? I already know everything, but why don't you just tell us what you think?
They need to get out of the league is what they need to do.
Sorry, the CFL Frank. Accepting teams? Can they take a team from the?
Well, they're doing a CFL XFL mix. Maybe they can fit the Lions in there.
They still wouldn't be the best.
Or the Fan Control League might be looking for a team.
There you go.
All jokes aside, though, the Lions, like you said, do need to fill a lot of holes. Wide receiver is a common thing with a lot of these teams here. Corner, tackles, QB for the future, and a linebacker. The Lions could grab a QB here at the 107. Should one of the five be available. Most mocks have them taking a wide receiver. Some have Justin Fields falling to them at the position, but this is where I see the first corner coming off the board, and the Lions take Alabama's Patrick Surtain, giving them a much-needed DB and, my opinion, the best one in the draft.
Wow, you got him going corner. I don't think I've seen many draft boards that have him going corner and that early. That's interesting. I mean, yeah, you're right. They need everything, so that could help. I think a quarterback, depending on which quarterbacks are available, could be interesting too. I don't think they will. It
depends, right? Yeah.
Well, they got Goff. They're going to try to see what Goff can do for them for the next 2 years, and if they're still losing, they'll be able to draft the quarterback next year or the year after, right? So, from their track record, they're going to be in the top 10. We just established that. So.
It's a 50-50 shot.
Yeah, I mean,
I think, right?
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Again, this is where it starts to get tricky now, right? Because it's all depending on what gets drafted beforehand and what falls. I mean, especially with the teams that need everything, you really don't know what they're thinking and who they have as the higher ranked players at this point.
Yeah, I mean, if Chase goes and they don't get their shot at the wide receiver one, the wide receiver pool is so deep this year that they can wait on the position and pick another playmaking player on the other side of the ball.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. Let's move on to number 8. The Carolina Panthers finished last year 5-11. They had some ups and downs. Quarterback wasn't great. CMC got hurt. They, tried to pull out there. The new coach came in and he was trying to bring in a new offense to that team. So their draft stock, they got 1 first, a second, a third, a fourth, a fifth, and a sixth. Sorry, 2 sixths. So here I have the Panthers have a choice inside the top 10 for just the second time since 2012. They hit big with the other, selecting running back Christian McCaffrey at number 8 in 2017. So going back, so their last 5 first-round picks. So in 2016, it was Vernon Butler, defensive tackle. 2017, like I said, Christian McCaffrey. 2018, wide receiver DJ Moore. I think they hit on that one too. He was 24th overall. 2019, defensive end Brian Burns. And last year at number 7, they took Derek Brown, defensive tackle at Auburn. Chris, what do these guys need, and what do you think they're doing at 8?
The Panthers are in need of some offensive line help. They need a QB, but not like they needed at the beginning before they made the trade. Oh, no, before they made the trade for Darnold. And they could also use a wide receiver with the loss of Curtis Samuel. With the addition of Darnold, the Panthers have somewhat addressed the QB position temporarily, so they could go there. They could go grab the best available, whether that be Penei Sewell, Rashawn Slater, Micah Parsons, Patrick Surtain, J.C. Horn, or a shiny new wide receiver. Look for the Panthers to even possibly trade back as they picked up their quarterback of the future somewhat. So they have the opportunity where they can trade back and still get value at the positions that they need to fill.
Yeah, I like it. I think you're right there. I think they think Darnold could be the guy, and they're going to ride him and see what happens for at least a year or two. And like you've told before, any QB that leaves Adam Gase seems to turn into gold. So we'll have to see where it goes. But I agree. And actually, a trade back wouldn't be bad to recoup some of those draft picks that they traded away and get some more stock there as well, especially with this being how deep it is. So.
Yeah, and especially because the team after them here, Denver, is in talks of getting a quarterback too. One of these other teams, like a Patriots or one of these other teams, could jump up in front of Denver if a quarterback that they like is still there, so Denver doesn't get the pick, right?
Yep, that could happen as
So
well.
they're in a good position. They put themselves in a good position.
Yeah, well, speaking of that, number 9 is the Denver Broncos, 5-11 last year as well. They've got a first round pick, a second, a third, a fourth, a fifth, a sixth, and 3 sevenths. And so the Broncos are picking in the top 10 for just the second time since 2011. Pass rusher Bradley Chubb was their pick at number 5 in 2018. So if we go back here, 2016, they drafted Paxton Lynch out of Memphis. We've already talked about him being on our big bust list. 2017, it was Garrett Bowles, offensive tackle. In 2018, like they said, Bradley Chubb at number 5. In 2019, tight end Noah Fant turned into be a really good tight end. And 2020, last year, they drafted Jerry Jeudy, wide receiver out of Alabama. So, Chris, what do these guys need? I mean, I think you just touched upon it. Looks like they're going quarterback, I think.
Quarterback.
And who do you think they're taking at that number 9?
The Broncos are in need of a quarterback because I don't think they truly believe in Drew Lock. They could also possibly draft a corner. They could use a corner because they lost Bouye. They're probably the biggest winners out of the Darnold trade, unless someone moves up. With the QB pool being so deep in this first round, if one of them's there, I can see them taking Trey Lance or Mac Jones. I mean, God forbid, but if Justin Fields drops to 109, I mean, that's an absolute win for them. But I could see them taking a corner. J.C. Horn, Patrick Surtain, like I said, all depends who falls to them there. Really in Denver is they're going to be able to pick best available at one of the positions. They don't need a wide receiver, that's for sure.
No, they got a bunch of those. I think they're. See, part of me thinks that they think Drew Lock is still the answer, and I think they're going to go away from QB and see what happens this year. I think they want to give him a full chance again to see what he can do. He had some flashes, but yeah, I mean, but if one of those guys is there they think is better than him, yeah, I think, what's his name there? Elway could choose another quarterback. He is quarterback happy, so that could be something he goes with. So we'll see, and I'm sure Sammy will be watching attentively, hoping they just help anywhere on that team. So moving on to number 10, and this one is my Dallas Cowboys. Finished 6-10, obviously, only because our quarterback got hurt, or else we would have won the division, but that's in my head.
Yeah, you're probably not wrong.
No, and I think now that Dak's back and signed, they're going to win the division again, and I don't think anyone can stop them. But they have a pick in the first round, a pick in the second, 2 thirds, 2 fourths, a fifth, 2 sixths, and a 7. So lots of picks. I've seen a lot of people saying they should basically do it all on defensive players and not look back, but we'll see what you have to say about that. Of the 5 of the Cowboys' past 8 first-round picks represented Cowboys in the Pro Bowl, but only 3 remained with the team. Guard Zach Martin, running back Ezekiel Elliott, and linebacker Leighton Vander Esch. This is the Cowboys' highest draft position since they took Elliott with the 4th pick in 2016. Speaking of their last picks, 2016 was Zeke at number 4. 2017 was Taco Charlton, out of Michigan at 28. Boy, did that go bad. 2018 was Leighton Vander Esch by the Boise State. 2019, they didn't have a pick. This is owned by the Oakland Raiders. That was the trade for
Cooper.
Yeah, Amari Cooper. I think we won that anyways. And in 2019, number 17, they took a guy by the name of CeeDee Lamb. He turned out to be a pretty good pick too. So, Chris, what do my Cowboys need, and who do you see them taking at 10?
I mean, new fans. Can they draft new fans? Can
What do
they
you
do
mean?
that?
We are all here. We haven't
Is
left.
that
Look,
allowed?
what do you mean? What are you talking about?
Can they get rid of the olds and in with some new? Or what's going on?
What is
here?
that going to help them win championships? Hold on. We're here for them to win. They don't need to move.
You're right, though. They probably should address the defense. One of their biggest team needs is a corner or another edge rusher. As much as we've been hearing that the ravings of Jerry Jones on Kyle Pitts and how much he's enamored by him and he pretty much wants him on the team, they should be going to get a corner. If J.C. Horn is there, who's going to be a stud corner in the NFL, That's the pick for the Cowboys. Now, I'm going to give you a couple of names that J.C. Horn has covered in his collegiate career. And he's regarded as one of the top corners. And this is probably why. He's covered A.J. Brown, Kyle Pitts, Devonta Smith, Jalen Waddle, Jerry Jeudy, Henry Ruggs, Elijah Moore, Diami Brown, Terrace Marshall, and more. Now, that is a gauntlet of wide receivers. And this guy, he's NFL ready. And the Cowboys should consider themselves lucky to pick him. As much as they like Kyle Pitts, they got to go with defense. Now, James, what do you think your Cowboys should do?
I mean, yeah, they should go defense. It's a no-brainer. You take a defensive player. But if Kyle Pitts is there at 10, how do you not draft Kyle Pitts at 10?
Yeah,
I mean, like,
it's tempting,
man.
Like
Kyle Pitts could be the next Travis Kelce. Look what Travis Kelce does for that team. Add a Kyle Pitts to the Cowboy offense. Like, just think of that. Like, who do you cover on that team?
Yeah, but like you said earlier, you can't win by scoring 50 points every game. You're going to have to stop the scoring.
Correct.
You're going to have to stop the bleeding at some point, right?
But Peyton Manning did it once.
Well, Peyton Manning is not Dak Prescott.
I agree. But Peyton Manning also didn't have the weapons that Dak Prescott would have in front of him.
Yeah, that's true.
So you're like,
as nice as it would be. I don't know. I don't think Kyle Pitts is there at the 110.
Well, that's what I don't think either. So it'll make it easier. It's going to be a defensive player. I mean, I'm seeing Patrick Surtain there too if he doesn't go earlier. Yeah. So those are the two I'm kind of seeing. I also saw Caleb Farley a little while back was an option. I've seen Micah Parsons as well as someone that they could possibly take if he drops. So there's a few options there, but I think it's defensive. I think, like I said, that meme there was, they should draft defensive players every single pick, not worry about the offense and let it roll. I would maybe even look at offensive tackle a little bit later because that's being a little bit depleted. But I think, that's where I'd go. And if Horn's there or Surtain or whatnot, that's where I think it'll be.
Yeah, I mean, I hope Pitts falls just for the drama of what's going to happen at the 110, like seeing the draft room of Jerry Jones and him and his son probably going to argue or something like that. But most likely it's going to be a defender.
Yeah, I think so too. Next on our list, another team in our division, the New York Giants, also finished 6-10. They've got a first-round pick, a second, a third, a fourth, and 2 sixths. And 4 of the Giants' past 6 first-rounders are players around whom they hope they can build around their offense through 2018. Number 2 pick Saquon Barkley will be returning from a torn ACL. Quarterback Daniel Jones was a 2019, and tight end Evan Ingram, 2017, had some injury issues that hampered them in 2020. Rookie offensive tackle Andrew Thomas was a plug-and-play starter this season. Yeah, so going back to their last few picks that we had, so in 2016 it was Eli Apple at cornerback. In 2017, like I mentioned, Evan Ingram, he's still there. 2018, Saquon Barkley, he's coming back off the injury. Hopefully his knee holds up and he comes back stronger than before. 2019, they had 3 picks. They had Daniel Jones at 6, Dexter Lawrence, defensive tackle at 17, and DeAndre Baker, cornerback at 30. And then, like I said, last year at number 4, they took Andrew Thomas. So, with all of that, Chris, what do the Giants need, and what do you see them taking at 11?
I think the Giants could use another edge rusher, but I see them taking an offensive weapon for Daniel Jones at the 11. Look for the G-men to draft another wide receiver, whether that be Devonta Smith, Jalen Waddle, or I don't think Rashad Bateman will go that early, but it's a possibility. You never know with some of these teams. Personally, with Galladay on one side and Ingram down the middle, with the addition of speed like Jalen Waddle has, I think he would be the best fit for the Giants. Being described as the closest player in comparison to Tyreek Hill, Waddle would be the best fit for the Giants, but GM David Gettleman is enamored by Devonta Smith, so if he's there at the 111, it'll probably be Devonta Smith.
Yeah, I don't like any of this, being a Cowboy fan, because like we said, the Cowboys don't have defensive players to cover that. I mean, if they get Horn or Surtain.
Surtain,
We
yeah,
will have
he'll
them,
be
and
all right.
and
Exactly.
and Diggs actually turned out really well last year. So,
Yep.
but yeah, I agree. It's going to be probably a wide receiver. I know they did bring in Galladay,
Yep.
so they may not now because they think they might have shored that up, and they may opt to go somewhere else with it. But adding, I mean, they still have they have 4 or 5 wide receivers there that could fill in underneath
They got
Galladay.
Galladay, Shepard, Slayton, and I think that's it. But I don't know, man. I think I'd rather have one of these top wide receivers over or Darius Slayton or Sterling Shepard.
They could probably get one in the second that'll be not
Yeah,
as
it's
good
deep.
but close,
Yep.
and
Yep.
then add something better here. So I mean, they got some options. We'll see. But I don't want them to get that top tier wide receiver. I'd rather them miss on that.
Yeah, you would.
All right, next another division team. All right, the
Division
Philadelphia
stinks.
Eagles. This is awful, man. Yeah, well, did you see our division? The team that made it barely cracked 500.
Had a losing record, didn't they?
So this one comes from Miami and that other trade there, so they traded down. They got the number 12 overall. They got a second rounder, 2/3, a fourth, a fifth, 3 6 and 2 seconds. And so I didn't have much on their picks in the last 12 of where they were there, but I'll go through their last 5 first rounders. So they drafted 2016 a guy by the name of Carson Wentz. Turned out to be good for a year or two, and now he's no longer good, so was moved on. In 2017, they drafted Derek Barnett, a defensive end. In 2018, they didn't have a pick because they decided to trade that pick to the Baltimore Ravens. And you know who the Ravens selected with that pick, Chris?
I'm gonna say Lamar Jackson.
That is correct. Yes. I wonder now, would you rather Lamar Jackson or Carson Wentz?
That's a tough question, man. Are we talking about to hold a clipboard or play football?
Whichever you want to be picking for. I mean, whichever will
I'll
get
pick
Carson
Wentz to hold the clipboard and Lamar Jackson to play football.
Yeah, so I mean, at the time, obviously, I think that was the year Carson Wentz was projected to be an MVP, and he was doing really well. So obviously, they didn't need the first round pick, and they probably weren't going to take Lamar Jackson anyways. But yeah, that turns out to be a bonehead play nowadays when you look at it. In 2019,
Hindsight.
they drafted Andre Dillard, offensive tackle, and in 2020 last year, they drafted wide receiver Jalen Reagor out of TCU. So, Chris, what does Philadelphia need, and what do you think they're going to take with that pick?
They need another wide receiver, of course. They need weapons for Hurts. Depending on what they do with Zach Ertz, they could use the tight end, but I don't think there's another one worthy of a first-round pick outside of Kyle Pitts. Like most of the teams in front of them, they need to address their corner position and the safety position. This could be where one of the first safeties come off the board. If one of the top 3 rated wide receivers happen to fall to them at the 12th spot, which most likely they will, I could see them picking a wide receiver. If by any chance J.C. Horn or Patrick Surtain happen to fall to them there, they could go the corner route. Newsome is also a possibility to go there. The Eagles must feel comfortable with Hurts, though, if they were able to move back from the 6th spot. So I don't see them taking a QB that drops. They could target a QB later in the draft, say Kellen Mond, which is kind of almost like the same playing style as a Jalen Hurts, or maybe even Kyle Trask, which could be a good option for them in the future. So with the 112, I see the Philadelphia Eagles going offense here.
Yeah, I think I got them at a wide receiver. To be honest, they need the help. They haven't been able to shore that up in a few years. So I think that's where they're going to go, and there's a lot of weapons there. So I agree with you. Number 13, the Los Angeles Chargers finished 7-9 last year. Their draft stock, they've got a first, a second, 2/3, a fourth, a fifth, 2 sixth, and a seventh. And the Chargers have the luxury of not needing a quarterback, as it appears they have struck gold with last year's number 6 pick, Justin Herbert, which I remember there was a lot of controversy of them taking him where they did. Their last 5 first-round picks, so 2016 they drafted a guy by the name of Joey Bosa. That turned out well. Defensive end at number 3. 2017 wide receiver Mike Williams. He's been okay. 2018, they drafted Derwin James, safety out of Florida State. I mean, the guy's amazing. Unfortunately, he can't stay on the field. In 2019, they drafted defensive tackle Jerry Tillery out of Notre Dame. And in 2020, they drafted 2 picks. So they drafted Justin Herbert, QB, obviously, and Kenneth Murray, linebacker out of Oklahoma. Also turned out to be pretty good. I mean, they seem to be pretty good at drafting. Chris, what do they need, and who are they taking at 13?
The Chargers need offensive line help, of course, because they were one of the worst in the league, run blocking and pass blocking last season. They could use another edge rusher to help Joey Bosa on the other side. They could use also a safety and, of course, a cornerback. And personally, I think the Chargers go defense here. The value at the defense positions will be more than that at the offense at this spot. With so many heartbreaking or close losses by less than a score over the past 3 years, look for the Chargers to change the course of their history and address their defensive woes. They'll be able to address the old line later in the draft. They signed the center out of Green Bay. I think his name's Corey Linley, which is a huge upgrade to what the Chargers had last year. Linley was the first-rated center, and the Chargers had the last-rated center last year. So I believe they go defensive heavy. They did lose a middle of the field threat in Hunter Henry, so they do need to address that position as the draft goes on, the tight end position that is. But again, there's no tight end worthy of going in the first outside of Kyle Pitts, and I don't think he's going to be there at 113, especially with the Cowboys at 110 looking to snipe him.
There you go.
But I think the Chargers fill their holes defensively this draft.
Yeah, I like it. I agree. I don't have anything else to say on that one. That was pretty well said there. Let's move on to the Vikings. So Minnesota 7-9, also a team that looked like they could be really good and just didn't do very well down the stretch. They got first, no second, 2/3, 1, 2, 3, 4 fourths, 2 fifths, and a sixth. The Vikings are making their highest pick in the first round since selecting cornerback Trey Waynes at number 11 in 2015. Of their first-round picks prior to 2018, only safety Harrison Smith and linebacker Anthony Barr still wear the purple and yellow. So of their last 5 picks, in 2016 they drafted a wide receiver who was on our board of busts, Laquan Treadwell out of Ole Miss. In 2017 they didn't have a pick. In 2018 they drafted cornerback Mike Hughes out of Central Florida. 2019 they drafted center Garrett Bradbury out of NC State. And in 2020, they drafted some kid wide receiver named Justin Jefferson out of Louisiana State. Turned into be a really good asset. Cornerback Jeff Gladney out of Texas Christian, who no one really remembers because they drafted Justin Jefferson. So, Chris, what do you got them needing, and who do you think they take at 14?
I got the Vikings needing a bunch of defensive assets this year through the draft. They could use some help on the O-line, and they could use another weapon for that offense, a wide receiver-wise. I see them addressing that later in the draft, but gaining Patrick Peterson through free agency. But they lost up-and-comer Jeff Gladney this year due to legal troubles. He booked him. He just turned himself in, I think, last week. I forget what the felony was, but it's not looking good for Jeff Gladney. So the Vikings find themselves in search for another great DB. And Coach Zimmer, who's a defensive mind, his coaching philosophies start from the defensive side of the ball. But one of their biggest holes is offensive guard. Ezra Cleveland, their current right guard, might have to shift to the left side with the loss of Riley Reif. With that will create a huge hole for the Vikings at that position. So look for them to maybe address it there with Elijah Vera Tucker or Alexander Leatherwood. Trayvon Mohrig. Is it a hard H or a soft H on that one?
You're asking me of all people?
I wanted your take on it, you know.
Let's go hard H. Why not?
Hard H. Trayvon Moehrig,
Yes, there you go.
safety, might also be a target of theirs. They have a lot of holes to fill, and they have to really hit this draft to keep their championship window open. I mean, they're a team that's like in the middle of either taking it to the next step or going rebuild. So I'm definitely interested to see what the Vikings do in this year's draft.
Yeah, you're right. They're right in there, and it's tough because I mean, some days they're good, and you think these guys should be really good. Their defense, I think, took a step back last year. The offense was still there, but that D needs to be upgraded a little bit, I think, in order for them to go. So we'll see. But they could be a team that could surprise again and be back in the playoffs just like that, especially with the offensive weapons they have. So. Moving on to number 15, and these guys are one of the teams that everyone's looking at to see what they do. The New England Patriots. So they have a first rounder, a second, a third, 3/4, a fifth, 2 6, and a 7. The Patriots have their highest first round pick since 2008 when they selected linebacker Jared Mayo at 10th. And going through their last 5 years of draft picks, so 2016 no pick, 2017 no pick. 2018, they drafted Isaiah Wynn, offensive tackle out of Georgia. 2018, they also drafted Sony Michel, running back out of Georgia. And 2019, they drafted N'Keal Harry, wide receiver at Arizona State. That turned out to be horrible. And last year, they had no pick. So, Chris, with that, knowing what they've done in this offseason, they basically threw money at everybody under the sun that they think is going to change this team around. What do they need, and where do you think they go?
The Patriots could use a wide receiver. They could use a quarterback. Cam Newton has proved not to be that reliable. And their DBs are aging too with Stephon Gilmore, so they could also use a cornerback and a linebacker as well. So probably one of the more interesting teams in this draft. Do they continue to stay aggressive and trade up to try to grab one of the QBs? Do one of the QBs fall to them at 115 that they like? I think they have to grab a playmaker here. Their offense was stagnant. It was stuck in the mud last season. Given that Cam was their leading rusher, do they possibly go with a running back? I could see that as well. I mean, they haven't had that many hits on the running back, and it's in our BBC most of the time. But like you said, Sony Michel is a fantasy miss. Damian Harris showed some flashes last season, but again, it wasn't anything that where it was really running their offense for them. A star wide receiver, I think, will definitely be there for them to take. They just paid guys like Nelson Aguilar, Jonnu Smith, and Hunter Henry. If they can get a speedster to really get behind defenders, their offense can look totally different this season, and possibly even put Cam Newton back into that top QB mix. James, if they take a running back at the 115, do you feel comfortable owning any running back from the New England Patriots on your fantasy roster?
Yeah, like in weeks 1, 8, 7, 12. I mean, you're not going to know which week it is, but there's a week there that, yes, you're going to feel very confident owning them. I don't think they go running back. I don't think they can. I think personally, I think they trade up to get the quarterback. That's the first thing I see them doing, and I think that's the smart thing to do. Throw whatever you're doing. They're being very aggressive right now, and I think that's what they do. Yeah. If they don't do that, I think you got to go wide receiver. The wide receivers they signed in the offseason aren't the best of wide receivers, so I'd rather them go get something. N'Keal Harry obviously was a miss. They need to get a wide receiver here to bring into that. And I mean, if Jalen Waddle falls to them here, like that's a perfect mix of a guy that I can see helping with them. So, I mean, those are the two keys I see. I don't see them going running back. And like I said, if they do, no, I have no confidence in any New England running back, no matter what his name is. It could be Najee Harris. And if it is, unfortunately, Najee Harris, you are not going to have a fantasy gold mine of a season until you leave New England. That's the way I kind of see it. So
I agree with it.
But yeah, so let's move on to our last team of today's episode, the Arizona Cardinals. They finished 8-8. They had spurts of being amazing, and then they had spurts of just what's going on. They have a first round, a second, a fifth, a sixth, and 2 sevenths. And of the Cardinals' past 10 first round picks spanning the past 10 years, 4 aren't even in the league. 5 are still with Arizona, and the other is the 49ers backup in Josh Rosen. So going through the last 5 years of picks and knowing that, in 2016 they drafted, oh my goodness, Robert Kimedici out of Old Miss.
I'll take it.
In 2017, Hassan Riddick, linebacker out of Temple. In 2018, Josh Rosen. We all talked about him a few times at number 10. 2019, they corrected 2018 and drafted Kyler Murray at 1. And in 2020, they drafted a beast in Isaiah Simmons out of Clemson, a linebacker. Chris, what do the Cardinals need, and who are they taking at 16?
The Cardinals need to address their running back position, maybe with the loss of Kenyon Drake. They did also lose Patrick Peterson, cornerback, so they need to address the DB spot. And of course, you can never have too many offensive linemen, man. You can't go wrong drafting good offensive linemen. The Cardinals this year can either help me get to multiple championships this season by riding Chase Edmonds or Eno Benjamin for the year, or they can completely drive down the value of both of them and draft an RB at the 116 position, totally ruining a lot of my chances. So, which if they do, I am staying away from the rookie that they draft. If it's a running back, the running back by committee that will end up being there won't be that valuable, especially with Kyler Murray still running the ball as well. With the loss of Patrick Peterson at the cornerback position, the Cardinals have been tied to Caleb Farley as well, who's one of the top corners in the class. They need a playmaker in that secondary, so someone like Farley or Newsome would be a great fit there.
Yeah, I think I've seen that too with Farley being there, dropping down and whatnot as well. So, but the running back idea is something I could see too because they need it. And I'm actually hoping for that. I'm hoping so that it ruins you and what you're trying to do here because you're the oddball running back guru that picks up these leftover, whatever they are, they turn into gold and you ruin whatever I'm trying to do against you. So I'm hoping they go get the running back that they need, but they probably won't because I think they have faith in Chase, and we'll see from there. But everybody, that's our show for today. We went through picks 1 to 16. We gave you a lot of information there, and hopefully, we know what we're talking about when it comes to the draft, and we have some good insights for you. But thank you guys for listening. You can follow us on Instagram at the Fantasy Football War Room. You can follow us on YouTube at the Fantasy Football War Room Podcast. Our next episode will drop on Thursday, where we'll be giving you the next 16 teams. So thanks for listening, and have yourselves a good night.